For the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities.
Hello and welcome to episode...
Oh, sorry.
Hello!
I was hoping you'd keep going over the
No,
top.
I'm not singing over or talking over your song.
Oh.
Here I go. Hello and welcome to episode 94 of That's a Shame. I'm Isaac, joining me in person, in the mix, in the spirit of things. It's Declan Delane.
It is, it's me.
What's it like being you?
It's very much...
Oh, no, I've got a little, look at that, little rub in my jeans.
Wow, well, now
Fuck.
now it feels like being me takes, second place to your jeans.
Well, of course, I'm wearing them. I very rarely wear the skin of another person. It's only a
not
weekend
unless you've
treat.
got an event or a party to go to and you have
exactly.
to slip into a different skin
That
for
was
it.
one hell of a segue because, of course, the much anticipated Reddit boat story.
And you've got a lot, you remembered a lot from
oh God, yeah,
temporarily relevant for you.
There's almost too much going on, and the good part as well is that I wasn't so drunk that I, threw up, forgot all of it, all of that stuff.
It's weird, isn't it? Because this is now the first, it's the first casual episode that we've
Ever.
had.
Should we be really revisionist about it and pretend this is like,
Yeah,
wow, this is a new format? It's,
Yeah,
it's
God,
just
it's
great
just-
to kind of loosen up.
yeah,
a bit.
it's nice to hear them just chatting about themselves
Yeah,
rather
it's-
than all that
oh, God.
highbrow sort of intellectual.
And what about like not having to do all the research for the show?
Oh,
this
well, yeah.
week?
Well, I mean, I've had so much spare time.
It's been really weird. Like, you might have had this as well, where you're like, oh, I just don't know what to do
I've
with
had like
myself.
a book withdrawal.
Like thumbs wrangling.
I started
away.
like thumbing just like
Oh.
chewing gum wrappers.
Okay.
Because pages, why bother? Because
Yeah,
I
well-
wasn't doing any of the reading.
Exactly.
No, I don't think we can get away with it. Really.
Fuck. What if I delete all the other episodes and replace them with like BBC? What's that with? What's his name? That clever man who tells you all the stuff.
Are you
The
all
clever
right?
man who tells you all the
Who
radio.
comes into your head
all the
through the
knowledge
ears to tell you?
on the radio. You know the one? He's old. He Professor.
You better not be talking about John Humphreys.
Oh, no.
Okay, thank goodness.
No, not even a bit. Anyway, what are you saying?
Well, I was going to say that it's weird and slightly annoying that this is the first of our newly branded relaxed episodes where we just talk about us.
Yeah.
And soddles happened to
Should we
us,
call it
really.
That's a Shame Back to Basics? And guess what? The two. No, it's not the word
Hold up there.
two. No, you know what it's going to be instead.
It's gonna
though?
be T-double-O. Back as in
okay.
it's like two basics.
It's two basics for That's a Shame to be
Yeah.
on. No, it's the numeral two.
As in two eyes, like Roman numeral.
Yes, actually, yeah. Because it's kind of academic, but also fun. 'Cause it's lowercase.
There's a gay bar near Charing Cross.
Oh, yeah. Just the one, is there?
Yeah. Called Halfway to Heaven.
Mm-hmm.
Or Halfway Heaven.
Oh, okay.
The two is in Roman numerals, but it just looks like a sort of like piece of punctuation.
Oh,
just
like a
it's-
double pipe.
Yeah, exactly.
What about the fact that there's a gay nightclub called Heaven nearby? And is it referencing the fact that it's nearly
Maybe,
there?
yeah.
Like you go there to pre-drink for.
Yeah.
Because if it is, that's a
Yeah.
very clever idea.
Yeah,
and
it's
I
good
applaud
marketing.
them. Yeah.
But yeah, like not an awful lot's happened.
To you mean?
Well, yeah.
My life's been off
Do you-
the chain.
It's mad. Like I had to do a long drive in the car that I thought was
And it all went
fucked,
fine?
and it was fine.
Ah,
I
that's
know.
not fair, is it?
Couldn't
Do you
even
want
do
me
us a favour.
to go and like just kick it a bit.
Yeah,
so
yeah,
for
if
next
you
time
could,
you've
yeah.
got all kinds of wheel stories.
Yeah.
And then it crashed.
God.
Yeah, okay, so we're going to kick off. I'm going to tell you, I didn't tell you very much
Sorry.
about the...
I have to interrupt again.
Why?
I've been given a show note
Oh, okay,
by my mother.
yeah.
Too much sniffing.
Oh, certainly there is. Yeah. Too much sniffing and throat clearing.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, what can you do? I don't feel very hay fevery today, so it's all
It's
Declan.
just me.
if you
It's
hear
all
it.
down to
And
me.
the throat clearing is always Declan.
Absolutely, it's not.
I edit them.
It's
It is
100%
not
you.
a chance. It's hilarious that you think that.
It's your favourite thing to do.
It's not.
It
I have.
is.
If it is, I have a very quiet throat clear, like. Whereas yours is like that. I literally edit out.
I mean, I do. I know.
20
I
of
know
those
that
a
I do
day.
do that. But you love to punctuate a point with a throat clear.
Do I? Go on, give me an
Yeah.
example of that.
You go, but I don't. I don't think that it's
That's
actually. It's
academic, though. That's kind of saying
I
a
see.
certain
So you don't gravitas.
intellect to it. Yeah. That's really nice that you've noticed
well
because
done.
I appreciate that.
No, well, I was just saying thanks on behalf of the
No
listeners. for you.
worries, guys. No need to thank us, but tacitshame.city if you'd like to. I'll tell you now about the Reddit boat. I didn't tell you very much actually after it happened, I don't think. Because
Not at all.
I don't remember why. I think I was away the next day or something. I was like working all day. But I had made a prediction in advance that it was going to be a very polarised kind of affair. Either it would be so poor and hilariously so that it would become its own kind of Dashcon-esque ball pool of fright. I'm sure you're familiar with what went down at that particular event.
That is a shame.
Or, alternatively, it would just be good. And it was good fun, it turned out. It gravitated towards the latter. And it was, I think, the key to it. If any of our listeners are in event planning, or if you're not in it, but you have to at some point plan an event, I'm going to give you 2 words that really cement for me the lifeblood of a party.
I think I know what they're going to be.
Go on, what's it rhyme with?
Does it rhyme with
Oh, be careful, you don't want to get this wrong.
Glee car?
Yes. Well, yes, I suppose so. But I was going with open bar, so I was quite confused.
Oh, I see.
I was like, a Glee car? I mean, it'd be fun and musical, sure, but we're on the river. Really no need. So yeah, open bar, of course, because within seconds of arriving, I had 3 different drinks thrust at me. There was someone like doing that amazing thing where your wrist is so far backwards with 50 different glasses of champagne there. It looks like if you just tapped your elbow, you'd be keeling over into the sea. You know, the River Thames Sea.
That's the one,
So that was good. Then someone else had Pimm's, and I don't like Pimm's, but
bullshit.
I did have it because it's
alcohol.
one of your 5 a day as well, isn't
Yeah.
it? As far as I know, and I'm not going to look into that ever. And then I ordered a G&T as well, just because why not? You're there for only a couple of hours, well 3, which is a couple and a half is what I think of 3 as. And I was going to make the most of it. Interestingly though, I did note that a lot of people, I don't know if they didn't get the memo about the open bar, but they would just have the 1 drink at a time. And I thought, you poor fools.
Very foolish, isn't
because
it?
God gave us 2 of these big flesh claws, and for a reason.
Yeah, and you can, like, if you are correctly attired, you could have a little one maybe in the jacket pocket.
Pocket cup.
Yeah, or like just tucked inside the trousers.
One of those baseball caps that you can fill up with juice.
Yeah, exactly. Just
and
go
then drink
for
with
it.
a big curly swirly straw.
Yeah, while people are talking to you.
That's really good look, actually.
It shows you're listening as well.
Yeah, it shows respect, I think.
Yeah, definitely.
And also practicality and forward planning, and those are all things that people look for in a human interaction.
I would say so, yeah.
You'd asked me to send you which personality I was going to choose, because we talked on episode, whatever that was, about how you have a coat hanger of different personality skins, and then you slip one on, you have to just
grease up,
with
talc
a kind of,
up a little bit,
and then just put it on, and it fits perfectly, but only after a while.
Yeah.
And I can't.
You chose disgust from
Inside Out. Yeah, I thought at first I was going to go in with an air of superiority, but I decided against that, because what this boat taught me was that there are a lot of crazy freaks out there in the world.
Yeah,
and you've got
you're one of them.
No,
you felt at home.
None of them. No, you've got to respect them, and you've got to take the time out of your day to listen to their stories, because you never know where
we are
it
now.
lead.
To you,
like we are now, I suppose. If you are listening to something else while I'm talking, which is quite rude, then maybe you are, but I'm obviously not doing anything of the sort at the moment. So I got to this boat, I did, and I didn't know where the fuck it was. I mean, I knew it was at the river.
Oh yeah, probably.
And I knew it was at a pier, but it was behind a building, and it turned out to be right by the Tower of London, which I hadn't been to for a very long time. Crows all over the gaff, or ravens, or whatever the fuck they are. They love it over there. Now, I got there, and I immediately knew I was in the right place, because I could see a bunch of people who fit a stereotype, but not the stereotype of what internet people are like.
Right.
Like, they weren't all, what would you say would be the kind of like degrading?
White.
Yeah.
Overweight.
No. Few of those.
Greasy hair.
Also no.
Bespectacled.
Yeah. What I would say the theme was
Nerds.
not so much.
freaks.
Yeah, exactly.
Ghouls.
Nail on the head. No, they looked like a bunch of people who were out at like an architecture convention.
Oh, right.
So they were kind of like office
So
casual.
You're thinking kind of more like coding internet people, not
But
World of Warcraft.
coding at like cool places.
Yeah, not
like,
World of Warcraft internet people.
Well, if they were working for Blizzard, then they'd probably
yeah, I
look
suppose
like
so,
this.
yeah.
Yeah. So there was a big group of only about 8 people kind of queuing, and I was there early anyway. So I went and sort of hung around. But I'd been, for whatever reason, like having to be quite social that day. And so I just couldn't generate the energy to kind of latch into that group at the time. I thought, I can't be fucked with this. So for a while, that's when I sent the disgust one to you, the disgust gift.
Yeah.
To indicate that, I wasn't going to force anything. I was just going to see what the universe had to offer.
Right.
And what it had to offer was an American man called Greg carrying the most bags a human can carry at once.
Right.
He looked like he was cosplaying,
Going
as
for a world
pile
record.
of luggage.
Oh, right.
Because you couldn't see him. It was literally like a float appearing.
Why was
He was carrying
doing this?
I think he's employed by Reddit as the carrier, because all he had was everything that you needed on the boat. He had like merch, he had like suitcases, clothes, just pillows, everything. And he was sort of like waddling around trying to get on a boat, like some sort of Laurel and Hardy sketch trying to fit through. And I was like, you all right, Greg? I didn't know he was called Greg then, but I just guessed.
Yeah.
and he was too polite to
Only a
confront.
Greg would carry that many.
Yeah, and he was like, "Oh yeah, I'm doing fine, buddy. Do you mind helping me with something?" I was like, "No, it's fine, absolutely not." So I helped him, and he rewarded me with a beautiful
You
pin.
carried Greg.
I lifted him right on my shoulders.
And him carrying the bags.
Yeah, and it was really a lovely moment. We were like a sort of totem pole of friendship.
That was a real power move as well. I suppose you got a lot of
was.
respect for that.
Yes.
Especially from Greg.
Especially. Greg really latched onto me for the entire night, and I had to shoo him away at all. No, he was lovely, actually. He's actually the person who organised the whole thing, it turned out. Anyway, here are some highlights. Eventually, I sort of started talking to people a bit, and then I quickly segued into talking to everyone a lot, because I don't know if you have a similar thing. I don't feel like you do, but maybe you do, and you don't share it very well.
Okay.
I don't like talking to people for the most part for very long. I like kind of brief interactions, or like with strangers, or long interactions with people that I know, but I don't really like that middle ground of like small talk and stuff like that. But I find that if I do it once, I can kind of wind up, and there'll be a point where I'm talking and doing that, the classic thing of just open your mouth and the brain shouts words.
It just goes for it.
And I'll be living, you have that room in your brain. There's the first one where the eyes live,
where
you
you do the watching.
And then you go kind of through that nice corridor, and then there's the control room where I live, and I'm watching my eyes looking around.
You're watching
the teeth smile,
yeah,
and the mouth chat. And I was like, fuck, yeah, I remember this. I'm so good at all of this bullshit talking to people. So then after that, I was very cocky and I was talking to everyone. I made lots of friends, and here's what I learned. It was far more diverse than I was expecting, both in attendees and in the people who work for Reddit, who were predominantly women, I think, working there, all quite young. Like 20s-ish. There was a girl who was from London who just moved to San Francisco to work there somehow. That was quite interesting. I was chatting to this guy who was telling me emphatically about a very niche topic that I was at first pretending to be interested in, but then actually it sort of segued from being so dull, like the fact that he put this much effort into it became what was fascinating about it.
Right.
And it was a subreddit that he moderates, where they've taken every card in Magic the Gathering, of which I think there are like more than 15,000 or something. It's been out. I think Christ invented it. As far as I know.
He brought it into fashion. Obviously.
Okay,
it existed before.
Oh, that's interesting. It wasn't his.
No, it was
Right. That's one of those common, like when people think he says, "No, Luke, I am your father." That's a misattribution.
Yeah, no. Basically, I think it was a famous Jewish game. But everyone was like, "Oh, I don't really fancy that. It's probably just a dreidel or something." And Jesus went, "Mate, have a look.
Here's the good news.
Here's the Dragon of Doom."
Is that one of the
play
big cards?
Yes, one of the big cards.
One
That
of
was
the-
his favourite.
Is that one like printed on A3?
Yeah, basically, like that was Christ's Expelliarmus. You know, like the one thing
He defaulted to it.
Yeah, his blue eyes white dragon, literally.
And what,
Like,
he didn't have it in Gethsemane? Or he'd like forgotten it that day?
Yeah, he didn't. Why he didn't? You know, you can't bring it everywhere. He didn't want to
bring it
lose
to
it.
God
You don't want to. You don't
Center.
want to lose it in Gethsemane, do you?
That's fair, yeah. But it kind of came back to bite him with the whole here's some gold, kiss him on the head thing.
It wasn't good. It wasn't a great day.
He didn't tell me that, but what he did tell me was that he's taken every one of these cards and battled them all by a community vote in order to find the best one. And I was like, so which one is it? And he was like, well, we don't know yet. It's apparently going to take years to do because they have like a vote every day or every 2 minutes or something. And it's going to take, it's like those things of when you shuffle a deck of cards, there are more permutations than atoms in the universe. It's like that, but it's going to take until heat death to find out. And I was like, oh, that's cool. Why?
Let me know.
Like,
Send me a text.
I literally did. I was like, if I give you my username, will you just tell me what it is? Like, I don't want to know any of the preceding stuff. And he was like, yeah, sure. And I was like, so do you have any idea what it's going to be? And he was like, well, probably one of the good ones. It's like, yeah, probably it will be. But he said it very earnestly, and he was like really earnest about it.
It's a shame it's not like a bigger subreddit, because then it would, you know, have that same effect that we've spoken about with their April Fool's things, where you'd get like huge factions developing to like make the worst card in the game like the top rated.
Yeah, I think they're moderating against any kind of outside influence. It sounded very scientific, his method. So that was good. I was talking to him, and this guy just sort of, you know, when you smell blood in the water, you know, when you're a shark and there's that scent of blood, and you're like,
When I'm a shark.
yeah, when you're a shark and there's blood, and you're like, that's an easy kill.
Third Tuesdays of the month.
Already
Here we
bleeding,
go.
I'm going to swim over and bite its head off. It's the smell of weakness. And I always find that the smell of weakness in a social situation is when a sole person approaches a group to try and segue in.
Poor fuckers.
So I instantly felt a responsibility to shun this idiot. No, not really. I was,
to go, hey guys, look at this loner coming to the group.
I was actually nice, and I was like, oh, hi mate, how you doing? And he was like, hi, I'm Steve. I was like, nice to meet you, Steve. But the guy was like in the flow of this story, like where he was telling me about like how it was all working, how it was going to pan out, what the games were, what the expectations were, like how the community was forming around it. So I never got back to talking to Steve. I just sort of like welcomed him in to the circle, like stepped aside a bit, like, oh yeah, how you doing, Steve? Back to this guy, because it's horrible, isn't it? That moment in conversation where like someone's trying to tell a story to a group, and the group is like their attention is diverted elsewhere, and then they end up telling it to no one.
Yeah, you don't know whether to like keep talking,
Trail off,
hold back.
What you've got
wait,
to do, the power play, is just scream your story as loud as possible.
go. Excuse me, I was talking. Don't worry about this.
Yeah. I always
Fire alarm can wait.
I always try to like catch that person's eye contact, and you turn into like a pantomime of yeah. Ooh,
Wow, good story,
pal. Even if you don't even know what they were saying.
No.
So I was keen to ensure that this guy's name, I can't remember, I think his username had the word fish and the word rage in it, so he was obviously a problem.
Very angry fish.
Yeah. I was keen to ensure that he didn't feel like I was shunning him for just the new escape from this very niche conversation.
Right.
So I was like, anyway, you were saying. And he carried on for longer than expected, detailing the ins and outs, by which time this other guy had, you know, he'd moved on.
Right.
It wasn't for a good hour that I found out that was millionaire CEO of Reddit, Steve Huffman, who founded the company in his college tour, went on to, you know, sell it to Y Combinator, I think, for a good amount of money, Condé Nast. He left the company, then came back, you'll remember, after all the Adam Power stuff, and is now running it in, you know, one of its most financially successful periods ever, only to then be ignored and snubbed by Isaac on a boat.
By you.
Which I think is probably a career highlight for Steve.
Yeah, loved it.
So that was good. I mean, it's always good. My friend Chris, who I went to uni with, you went to our uni as well, so it's fair to say that you went to uni with him as well.
I did indeed.
But I lived with him in first year, and we had a concept, I suppose, maybe a theory on social dynamics, which was whenever we were going into a room with new people, the goal was, right, so we'll go in, will get on top of everyone. And what that means is not as problematic as it sounds, because we're not clambering up the giant boy in the corner.
No.
What it is like assert some kind of social dominance, but usually through some kind of like witticism, or, you know, if there's someone punching above their weight in terms of status, you've got to bring them down a bit, and in so doing, level the balance. It's not even about bringing yourself up.
And you're saying that's what you did to Millionaire Steve?
Yeah, by accident though. So
you're so good you don't even have to try.
Yeah, it was a power play that I didn't plan, and he grew to respect me for it. So that was good. Here are some other things that happened. I met someone called, I can't remember what her name was. She works for Reddit, but her username is something like Scrugs Not Drugs. And I overheard, the only reason I started speaking to her because there were like 20 people. Like she was just kind of mingling, going around groups of people. And a question that kept being asked was, what's a scrug? And she had this stock phrase that was, a scrug is a guy who ain't going to get no love from me. And she'd say it really awkwardly, like kind of down facing, like it was a real burden that she ever had to explain. And I just wanted to know what that was about.
Well, it's... A scrub is a guy that can't get no love from me. Yeah, I know.
Scrug.
Yeah, well, that's probably just her joke, isn't it?
Why? Doesn't make any sense.
Well, probably because scrug is something she doesn't want to say what it is, so she's come up with this deflection.
Well, I don't like that, and I wanted to get to the heart
Either
of it.
That or
pushed her off the boat.
Or hopefully, it's just what she first thought the lyric was. I don't want no scrugs.
No scrugs.
A scrug is a guy that can't get no love from me.
That is nice.
Scrugging at the passenger side of his best friend Scrug.
His best friend Scrug.
Trying to scruggle at me.
This needs to be edited out in a big way.
Scruggle.
Scruggle is like struggling and screaming at the same time.
That powerful 2-for-1.
He was struggling all over the basement. I mean, I had to shoot a trank dart in
it
his
was
neck.
really, it was a kindness.
that
I
put
did.
him out at
the
the
scruggling bastard.
Here are some other things that happened. I met a woman, and it was a common kind of
made that
conversation
sound like
tactic. No, what?
Like a romance.
Like a marriage.
Yeah. I met a woman and...
We're to be married, yes. We've sailed off.
Betrothed.
Yeah. She was possibly the oldest person there, but only like 50, maybe 55. And the opening conversation gambit that everyone had used on me was, so what do you moderate? What's your involvement? So I opted for the same. I was quite drunk at this point, so I was running on autopilot. But I was immediately snapped out of that when she said, oh, you know, our Ebola. But, so I was instantly hooked by that. What a great insight already. And through a long conversation, she told me that she's a professor of anthropology who specialises, her work is in the dissemination of medical information during crises.
Oh, right.
And how the internet can be used to facilitate, like, spreading awareness, both of, like, what's causing an illness, what to avoid, where hotspots are. Hotspot probably being too positive a word for Ebola.
It's an Ebola hotspot.
Get over there, boys.
Organs falling out of everyone.
But yeah, she was just telling me about all this research that they do using Reddit. And so she had set it up, I think, obviously during the Ebola outbreak, or taken it over. I think she had to like request it from someone who's just using it for memes, which is a bit of a shame. Just like Ebola-based internet memes. And her team had studied how, you know, what was effective, what had been proven to work, in order to prepare like information packs for governments and organisations of how they can most effectively stop people from dying of these illnesses that are quite preventable if you know what to do. And apparently it's very successful. But it was a shame that on the same boat...
Sorry, I just decided to have a quick check on our Ebola, see how big it is. 8,329 subscribers.
Well, I guess a lot of them are dying.
But the app, like, as you may well know, does this thing where it automatically, if it's the first time you go to a subreddit, has a little slider at the top, which is just labelled "Best of our Ebola."
Just me
Here's
and my Ebola
some real highlights from our Ebola. And the first one's like Ebola, like toll hits 12 million or something stupid.
I found myself at the front of that boat watching the flag as we sailed under the Tower Bridge, and the sun started to set. And as I gazed back over my shoulder, I saw the Arabola lady that I'd been talking to having a chat with someone who I found out was a mod of dank memes. And I thought, the internet is wild.
They probably were the people running our Ebola before.
Yeah.
That's why they knew each other.
But where would those people's lives intersect otherwise?
Never.
Yeah.
They wouldn't
And
have.
that's the power of community.
That's what I was saying about the World Cup coverage. That my favourite thing is just the punditry that goes on in the studios in between games, because it's the only time in the world that you'll get Roy Keane, Martin O'Neill and Patrice Evra just having a chat about stuff, having a laugh.
To and fro. So yeah, it was good. I later, when there was kind of an after party, the boat bit ended and everyone went to a pub nearby, which was it'd been opened the day before or something. So it was outstandingly nice, and they were doing reduced drinks, which
Very
is
good.
a good soft launch tactic. It was, in fact, the Brewdog bar.
Oh, was it?
Which is what you've got there.
Yes, it is.
Obviously, listeners wouldn't have known that.
No,
I
they
pointed.
wouldn't have. No.
That's why I vocalised that thought for you. And later on, when I've been drinking a lot and some people have been buying me free drinks, I got talking to someone who mods juggling. He's telling me all about what juggling used to be like. It was wild in the 80s, apparently. Crazy.
Why?
Oh, God, I can't even begin to get into it. It was a baffling affair. There was someone who... It was a bit weird. It was like everyone was kind of a UN envoy for exactly the thing that they were involved with. So, the juggling guy just told me about juggling. And there was a guy who was in charge of the Apple Watch subreddit who just talked about Apple Watches, which is quite funny to be a part of, to see that he's oh, you're exactly the person that you would expect then.
Yeah.
Did
you talk exclusively about Sondheim?
Oh God, I didn't shut the fuck up about him.
A regular
Yeah.
Thursday night out.
Everyone
for you then.
loves him now, I think. I got talking to Steve, who I'd previously snubbed. Oh, I missed the bit where he came off. The very last thing that happened on the boat was someone drunkenly noticed this weird wooden frame. It was about 6 foot tall, had pegs in it. It looked like a kind of madman's drying rack for laundry.
Yeah.
You just sort of throw a scarf at it and hope for the best. And people were kind of moving it around on the open deck of the boat. And someone was like, oh, I know what that is. It's for limbo. And someone was like, oh, limbo. Yeah, let's do that. Imagining that it must be fun, which of course it's not.
It's not. No.
And this old Reddit boy just walked up to it, threw the whole fucking thing into the Thames. He was not having any of it. He didn't want any limbo.
There will be
on his
no
ship.
limbo.
Yeah, which I can respect. That was a kind of counter power play that, is appreciated, even if it does come secondarily to my earlier and better one. Later on, I got talking to him again, and the conversation somehow segued into tax law. And he intimated that they were planning to offshore a lot of their operations. So I accidentally ranted at him for quite a long time about why that shouldn't happen and why it would be much better to be an ethical company, which he got quite annoyed at, but not at me as much as at San Francisco as a kind of constitutional body, where apparently they're charging him a lot of tax to run his very, very famous and successful internet company.
Yeah.
It doesn't make as much money as you'd think. So that was also fun. We ended the night by going to a third place where there were only about 5 people left, one of them who'd flown over from Berlin just for this event.
Mad.
Imagine that. He was very friendly.
Flown from Berlin to go on a boat.
That's mad, isn't it? Because they've got boats there, don't they?
Loads of
They've
them.
got their own river.
They've probably got loads.
Yeah, I reckon if he wanted to, he could go on up to 3 boats in a night. But he'd flown all the way to London to see me, I think.
See you, yeah.
And that was really nice of him. And my main...
He runs the Andrew Lloyd Webber subreddit and he's there for a fight.
Yeah, I wondered why I'd catch on a pour rat poison into my beer and mouth. Really lost subtlety towards the end of the night.
It was,
there.
cut out the middleman.
Yeah, I guess so. Why be a vehicle when you can just be a conduit to death?
Wow.
They sent me a survey afterwards that was, well, not really a survey, just a feedback thing about what was it like? How was it meeting people? I was like, yeah, it was great.
Do you enjoy boats?
Yeah, what was the sea like? The River Sea. And I was like, it was on top form.
Full
and
of
it was.
limbo.
It was very sunny and very perfect weather for it. And one of the questions was is there anything else you'd like to tell us about the event, your favourite food, life, or anything else? So I was like, I'm going to do all 4. And I wrote them a lovely long piece about how what it made me think about, and I think it's something we could all reflect on, not just us, the hosts, but also maybe the listeners as well. It made me reflect on how some people are really into stuff. Now, some of that stuff is what you might, in an objective sense, call
dross.
Bullshit.
That's the one.
Sometimes ridiculous.
Yep.
Like our friend who is a historical reenactor dressing up as the Roman past for a reason that I could not begin to understand. And the temptation, I think, in this cynical age, I know you just changed your Twitter handle, but the cynicism I know remains, is to, point, laugh.
Yeah. And you said we should do more.
What
We're not
I'm
doing
saying
enough.
is, it was refreshing to be amongst a group of people who are all so into things in a really unabashed, heart on the sleeve manner, where they're just like, yeah, I've built a whole identity around this. So what? I enjoy it. This is what I'm going for. You don't have to like it, but I can tell you about it if you do.
I'm happy to be called the Apple Watch guy.
Yeah, I mean, that's all I know him as. Never learnt his name. There was a person from the Movie Details subreddit, which anyone who's, I told you this already, but when they introduced themselves, I was like, I love learning that one fact about Megamind 7 times a day.
You know Steve Buscemi?
Go on.
You know 9/11?
Oh, yeah.
You'd think...
It's not a movie, though.
You'd think No Connection.
Right. Well, of course.
Turns out he was there. And he trained as a volunteer firefighter.
Fuck.
So he just turned up. And he was like, no cameras.
That's the kind of fact that you can only learn 1,000 times a month on Reddit. Yeah. But I thought it's nice, and it would be nice to applaud sincerity more in our day-to-day lives. And I think there are two approaches, because at once there's a lot to ridicule in content that people produce.
A real lot.
Yeah, if you've heard our latest quickfire shame, you'll know that Ghosts and Bread are amongst a real smorgasbord of errors that people make. And there's that side of it. But I think at its core, we should let people be who they want.
Well, I've always found that it doesn't really matter to me what someone's interest is. If they're really interested in it and can articulate that, I find that really interesting anyway. I just think that there is something quite heartwarming, but also just quite fascinating about hearing someone who knows everything about
one
a
tiny
topic
thing
and is able to, like I say, get that, convey that, communicate that successfully. I don't like people who really like something but have no ability to communicate any of what's interesting about it.
Like what?
Like our friend who does historical reenactment.
Oh, I see.
But
maybe he's just really embarrassed about what he really loves.
And he should be, because it's fucking drivel.
No, I'm going to my commitment is to be more inclusive of people's interests.
Well, that's really going to damage the brand of the show. If you think me changing my Twitter name is,
I think the interest
is brand damaging.
I think we can separate art from artist,
right?
And go after the ball, not the man.
So you want to criticise Hamilton, not Lin-Manuel?
No, he's a clear exception to the rule. Some would say the exception that proves the rule, because my objection to him is him,
right?
Not his art, which is is all right. It's not good. It's not bad. It's fine. So that's the distinction. It was less even about just their interests, but also I've always kind of, less so now, I suppose, because when you're a child, you have to interact with more people on a daily basis. Like, you're in a year group of 1 million people. There are all sorts of different. We don't have quite the clique structure of American
big school.
schools.
That's Sevenoaks.
Yeah, well, no, Sevenoaks was huge, but my secondary school was not very big, so you did kind of know everyone in your year. And I've always floated between groups. I never was with one group of people who all wanted to do one thing. And the kind of common denominator experienced, at least when we were early teenagers, was you don't want to talk too much about internet stuff because it's a bit weird. And that has really broken down in a big way in our lifetime. Like, we've lived through the idea of being a geek as being something you would pick on people for, now being celebrated and parodied. It hits the mainstream when the best-selling sitcom of the last decade or something is just geek porn.
Yeah.
Which is a shame, but it shows that there's been a huge transition. So I've always felt kind of uncomfortable about talking about things that are a bit off kilter. And I never really bring them up, like internet things. Even now, less than
Having all those skins.
yeah, or having all my skin selection workshop, as I call it. But I think we should all commit to be
The original name of Build-A-Bear that
the skin
didn't test well.
the bear skin selection workshop. That would be a horrid scream of a place to visit. What about when you go there and you have to put a heart inside the bear?
Isn't that your favourite bit?
Have you done Build-A-Bear Workshop?
No, I haven't done it, but I've been in and around and had a look.
That makes it sound...
I refused to
scattered.
pay to be in there, but I did have to know quite how it all happened.
It's horrible because
Very.
you can put your own voice inside the bear as well, and apparently it's quite common to put a dying voice in it so that once a person's dead, they live on in a bear.
Like your granddad's measuring
yeah.
tape.
Yeah, God, he was ahead of the time.
It's the original Build-A-Bear.
Shout into a tape workshop.
Shouting to tools.org.
Wow. So yeah, anyway, that's my thoughts on the topic.
Oh.
It was quite a positive takeaway.
That is a positive.
And it was a really good night. It was good fun. There were weird people, but there were also some very normal people.
Right.
And it was refreshing to see that it's kind of a mix and that it's not the one note, everyone fedora wearing, alt-right horrids that you might expect. I also met Shitty Watercolour, who is an alumni of our university. If you don't know him,
does
he's
shitty
the kind of
watercolours.
modern Quentin Blake, who's
Yeah.
not dead. Very, very good art he does.
He does do good art.
And got him to agree, in principle at least, to doing something for us, an original
that'd be
TS
great, wouldn't
artwork down the line. So I'm going to get in touch about that. That was good. End of story.
Wow. Well,
Thank you. One more. There it was. Now I'm satisfied. Heartwarming stuff, hey?
that is good.
Yeah, I was pleased about the whole thing.
Well done.
I think I'd go again.
You said as well to me pre-show, before these guys could hear,
Oh, the listeners?
Yeah.
I forgot they were there even.
that you went to quite a weird gig.
Oh,
this
yeah.
week as well.
With our friend Joe off of episode
6.
Good. Do you just have a little book of all the ones that we ever talk about in your head?
Yeah, basically.
If I asked you like what happens on a particular episode, would you have any idea?
No, not really a clue.
6.
Well, that one was to Joe Dad.
Oh, 10 out of 10.
Yeah.
1 out of 1, mate. It scales out basically.
Yeah,
something.
basically the same.
Yeah, Dan and I were going to go and see Tang of the Bangers, who are the best band there is at the moment, who are performing in a weird kind of last minute gig that was announced about 10 minutes before it was going to happen. It was like a week ago or something, I saw it. And Dan's bought tickets for, very kindly organised, a night out. Doors at 7. I thought that didn't sound like they'd be on for a while.
Yeah.
Maybe they'd be a support act. But it turns out they were actually supposed to be on at 7. However, due to various errors, mostly transport related, here are some of them. Flying out of Nice. Nah.
Why?
No more planes there. So they were very late from France to here. Then they got to Gatwick. They're like, oh, we're going to get there.
Into Gatwick.
Yep.
Another mistake.
Well,
Dreadful place.
well, Gatwick Express, that's 20 minutes and you're in town. However, there was someone on the tracks doing what we can only assume to be some geocaching.
Okay,
where they're
yeah.
looking
Having a
really
little
close
look.
to the track.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's always horrid when you hear the phrase, there's a person on the tracks. It's a really weird, like, euphemism for someone has tried to or most likely succeeded in killing themselves in front of a train.
Yeah.
It's weird that we kind of accept that as a bit of language and don't delve into it any further to be like, fuck, that's horrible.
I was on the motorway today and it was on the M25 where they have the variable speed limit.
Oh, yeah.
And all of the signs suddenly were like 40.
Yeah.
So everyone sort of begrudgingly goes down to maybe 65 until they can see there's a camera. But it wasn't until a couple of like signs later that there was a reason why, and there was a sign saying reports of pedestrians, and you're like,
Well, they're not pedestrians.
what are
so
they doing
much,
on the
are they?
M25? But then what I then enjoy is you're sort of going along at 40, you know, keeping an eye for everything, and then eventually the signs just go, nah, full speed, like national speed,
really?
whatever. Like, and I just don't believe that anyone phoned in and went, no, the pedestrians are gone. They
just, like, gave up on it.
Look, then we've given them 10 minutes. If they're not off the
They haven't
road,
crossed.
they're not going to get off the road.
Wow, bleak. So, yeah, I didn't expect it to start at 7. I didn't expect it to start at 11:30, which is when it did. So we had a lot.
I
of
did
time
think
to
you were back
kill.
late.
Yeah. Oh God, it was a late one.
Yeah.
It was so late, and I was so drunk by the time it finished that I made a really cardinal error of ordering at McDonald's a fillet of fish meal and an extra fillet of fish. What was I doing?
Well, why is that?
I ate them both. Let me tell you.
Oh God.
They are just a series of rectangular
Isaac,
errors.
you'd have been better eating meat for
I
the first time.
know. I know. Over
God
a year
knows how
now, I
long,
think.
yeah.
Apart from that time I ate half chicken nugget, then cried about it on the bus. And I was really, really drunk, and it made me sad.
Oh no!
Because I'd seen a video, like some vegan group on Twitter had shared of, you know how when chicks
Chickens
are
at the
born-
grinder.
yeah, chicks
There's
all
a
getting
chickens at the
shredded
grinder,
up
yeah.
because they're boy chicks, and therefore
Yeah.
not boy chick in the like Soviet sense, boy chick in the sense of a male shreddable entity
Yeah.
that has no value in its produce.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh God, I've eaten one of those chicks. And I felt bad about it.
Oh, poor boy.
So yeah, I thought when I'm drunk, as far as I push my vegetarian/veganism is, I'll eat a fillet of fish. Apparently, it seems to be the
that
vibe at
is
the moment.
tragic.
It was really sad. I didn't feel good about it. at
Not
all.
just a fillet of fish. Two.
I don't know why no one on the tube stopped me, because if I saw a drunk man
I'd have battered it
devouring
out of your
fillets,
hand.
I'd say, "This is for
If
your
I'd
own
have been
good."
there, that would have been the end of the union.
They're so sad. My greatest error was taking the time to just lift up.
No,
the top
why did you
bun.
lift the bun?
Oh, it's a sad
Of course
carnival
it is.
of failure under there.
It's a fillet of fish.
It's a small dab of sort of gone off tasting sauce
Yeah.
that has unidentifiable green
It's
flecks.
as close as it's as close as they can get to tartar, isn't it?
But what? Oh God. Well, anyway, that's where the night ends. So let's dial it back a bit.
Okay.
We had several hours.
I was going to say, what kind of absolute travesty
Yeah.
could have put you in a state to order two?
Oh God.
That's
just
like
lot
a
of
cry
alcohol.
for help.
No, it was born on a kind of giddy wave of I can do anything. I'll have 2 fillets of fish.
Oh, this
Yeah.
guy's a maniac.
Because it was an interesting night. We spent the first few hours killing time. 'Cause originally we got there, tried to find. It was a very weird place. It was in a hotel.
Yeah.
That turned out to be this kind of. It looked like it solely existed to be a place where you'd film the scene of like a rock star waking up to find that the prostitute you'd ordered had died of a
yeah.
coke overdose or something.
Yeah.
Which is very
That's
difficult.
quite a specific
Well, it was all like
aesthetic they've gone
big
for.
black doors
Good.
and like lots of glass
Yeah.
and weird flower arrangements that sort of looked like food Hannibal would serve. It was kind of very stylish. It had a rooftop pool that we later tried to break into. That sort of vibe. So we got there, we were like, is the gig here? Because this is a hotel lobby. And they were like, oh no, it's round the corner. Another part of the building, but a different part. And we went to the second bit, it was like, is the gig here? They were like, oh no, it's a different bit. So we were already sent to like 3 different places. And the bit it turned out to be was like a members only bar that looked, when we eventually got there, quite Twin Peaksy. It had this like black and white chessboard floor and too many disco balls too close to each other, but with no clear motivation
with no lights.
or arrangement. Yeah,
Just in the
pitch
dark.
black it was. So we got there, we were like, oh, is the gig now? And he was like, yeah, no, they should be here for 9. Not very apologetic, not that I cared that much.
No.
But so we were sent away. We went to watch the football in a pub, sort of, not really watching it, in which we had a couple of beers. And then there was a table next to us of like 4 people who were there for maybe 45 minutes, drank each of them exactly 2/3 of a pint and then left. So they left a pint and a third left, and Dan's just poured it into one big thing.
Yep.
Finished it off.
Why not?
Why not?
Go
Indeed.
for it.
That's 3 pints.
That's actually, I respect that so much more than your fillet of fish.
Well, that's fair enough.
Your fillet of fish is disgusting.
I paid for it. That's the real downside.
God's sake.
Yeah. I'll pay for both of them, lest we forget.
Would you eat a fillet of fish that you found that someone left?
If someone left, if 4 people left a quarter of a fillet of fish left,
Yeah.
I'd burn them all with white hot fury. That's free drink number 1 of the night, was Dan's mind sweeping this, very acceptable bit of theft. We went from there back to the place, and they were like, oh no, they're not there yet. Come back at, I can't even remember, like 10 or like 10:30 or something. It was a while. So we kind of wandered around. We didn't want to go back to the same place. just because it was a bit dull to go back.
Yeah.
We were trying to find somewhere cheaper as well. And we found this pub. Like, we walked down a street that slowly degraded into, like, in my mind, that sepia daytime TV filter of Coronation Street.
Yeah.
It, like, everything became weird green tiles, like the 60s was back. And there was a pub there that, considering the football had only been over for maybe half an hour, there's all, like, the punditry still on. They draw it out for a while.
Oh, yeah.
They were playing an episode of EastEnders from, no joke, 1998. There were characters in it who I know are dead, not only in the show, but in real
life.
and a while ago. So that was odd. And inside was this weird, like, it looked like a set you might make for Abigail's party. Like, everything was slightly faded and odd. We went in there, ordered 2 drinks. She handed us the card reader, and it said £100. We were like, okay. And Danj, very quick thinkingly, we sort of had a synergistic moment of a plan forming. Danj cancelled it, wrote £1 in, and I immediately started distracting the bar person with conversation about EastEnders. My opening gambit was, is that like, it's like an old episode of EastEnders or something? And she was like, what, this pub? I was like, well, no, I don't mean this pub. What an
I mean the
abstract
old
thing that would be
episode
to
of
say.
EastEnders
that's
on the
playing
television.
on the giant screen 4 feet away from you. And we distracted her sufficiently that we then ended up with 2 50p pints, which was
Nice.
really good. She got the receipt out, and I made sure to, like, maintain eye contact and chat throughout, so that she, like, handed it in, and we left. By left, I mean we walked 8 feet outside. A guy came up to us. Oh, there were some people trying to have a race in the street, which was very unfortunate. Just running, but, like, they were trying so hard, and they were adults. There's no excuse, is it? And they were both so flat-footed that it sounded like that penguin from Toy Story 2 trying to fucking jog his way out of Wheeze. Really upsetting. So that was a lot of bullshit. It happened once, and then it happened again.
Oh, good. Just in case.
I think it was like winner stays on.
Yeah.
I don't know what they were up to, but it was a real shame. This guy came up to us with a girl and was like, I can't remember, one of them was like, do you want to hear his impression of someone from Love Island? I've never seen an episode of Love Island in my life. But I was like, yeah, go for it. And he did an impression that, I mean, could have been great. Who knows? But what a weird opening gambit.
That's
that is
so good, yeah.
It's like, well done, I guess, maybe. So that was nice. And then we went back, and now in the kind of lobby area were more people than there had been. So this was a good sign. When we first went, there was like one other person, which gave the impression that it was going to be a gig of like 4 of us max.
Yeah.
But now there were maybe 5 other people milling around. The guy who we'd spoken to before, who had a really nice hat, who'd sent us away, and a woman behind a kind of, it was really weird. It looked like a cloakroom, but it had one barber's chair in the centre of the room, and like no other
Don't ever sit in
haircutting
that chair.
accoutrement. Yeah,
Don't ever sit in that
Todd
chair.
vector.
Yeah.
So I avoided that like the plague.
The Todd Vector is a failed sci-fi from the 70s.
After the Twilight Zone.
Yeah.
You've heard of the Twilight Zone.
Welcome to the Todd
The
Vector.
Todd Vector.
But then it'll do.
Is it presented by and written by a man called Todd, who's trying to be
Todd
like
Sterling.
Todd Sterling. Wow, that's a shame. I asked the woman, like, we could overhear a chat between her and this blonde woman who had a very particular look about her that it will click into place when I imitate her voice momentarily. She had been chatting about like what time the band are getting there. She's like, and the train as well. That's a shame. And the woman was like, I know. What's it like? It's crazy this town. She was a blonde, probably about 100 years old, but had had so much surgery that she looked like 28. But with that kind of very fixed face that was just like so intense to look at.
If one sinew falls out of place, the whole thing unravels.
If a wayward like hair just falls out of a bird's back, you know, those hairy birds, and trickles down through the park.
We are water off a hairy bird's back.
And it just landed tip side into her cheek. She would, you know, when you let go of a balloon, it goes deflate right back to LA. Turns out she's the manager of the band.
No.
Yes, she's the band's manager. And I'd passed over. I'd kind of thrown the ball over to her quite quickly because I'd heard them chatting. So I started asking the person who worked there, and then was like, well, but maybe you'd know more because it sounds like you've got some insider information. And she was like, they're trying their best. They're going to get there as fast as they can. We're all very sorry about it. There's a lot of hope. Something like
There's
that.
a lot of hope.
And then instantly, and kind of, I don't know, I was a bit drunk, so I don't know if I'd pressed the issue or if I'd come across as quite forthright. But she called over this like idiot, and we'll find out why we don't like him. She called him over and was like, take these two gentlemen downstairs, get them a drink, put it on Holly's tab. I was like, Holly, this is a real gesture. Thank you so much. And I was very nice to her. And this guy kind of already, I could tell that he resented having to do this. Maybe he was like the manager or something.
Yeah.
But he had to lead us into a lift, take us all the way downstairs, through a members bar, which was full of other mad things, into this checked room, which was totally empty and kept at like refrigerator levels of cool, with just loads of bar staff who, when the door
Directly
opened,
beneath the Todd Vector chair.
that was it, yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, God, no coincidence, is it? It's probably holding in all kinds of demons. All the bar staff, like, looked very suddenly when the door opened because they'd all been caught standing around doing nothing. Not that there was anyone to serve. I kind of threw it over to Dan. I don't have many drinking preferences when I'm already drunk. I don't have any, really, when I'm not drunk, other than I'll have the cheapest beer. But when I am drunk, it's anything goes. Like, I'll try a bit of anything that isn't aniseed related. Aniseed adjacent drinks deserve their own special place in hell, of course. So we just asked, we got 2 Peronis. A Peroni is, it's one of the more expensive standard bottles that they have. And when we ordered them, this guy next to us who read us was like, Peronis. And we were like, what do you mean, Joe? We knew his name was Joe. What do you mean, Joe? And he's like, well, if Universal Records were buying me drinks, I'd have gone for at least a Negroni. So come on, Joe. We don't want to push our luck here. We're just grateful for the Peronis.
We're grateful to be in your horrid fridge bar.
Yeah, so I didn't like him one bit, but what it did mean was that for the whole rest of the night, we went up to that bar. I don't know if Danj did it, but he tried a lot later after the gig had ended and was shut down. Every time I went to get a drink, I affected an American accent, asked with a kind of cocky, no time for this chat attitude for the drinks, and said, yeah, put it on Holly's tab. And they were like, right away, sir. Because Universal, obviously, they've got a lot of cash, I hear.
Yeah, they're one of the
record labels.
They've got quite a bit.
So that was good. We got loads of free drinks out of that. And not just, as soon as we got those Peronis the first time as well, just to kind of throw it in Joe's stupid, ugly, bespectacled freak face.
You ordered a Negroni and threw it on the floor.
Smashed it in his face, glassed the idiot. No, we got chucked in some tequilas, and the barman was initially hesitant. So it was like, yeah, why not? So that was good. While we were in kind of waiting, when it became clear that the gig was going to start at some point soon, and we were standing like near the door to be let in, a door we'd already been privileged enough to breach and feel the sheer volumes of ice that were pounding through its halls. And a woman sort of was standing nearby. She was probably about 50, maybe like late 40s, early 50s. And she was wearing sparkly gold shoes.
Good.
A floor-length, golden, kind of bejeweled, very intricately designed kimono, sort
Also
of cape
good.
thing.
Well, which?
Well, no, more. I don't quite mean kimono, but I don't mean cape.
More cape.
It's like kimono, but
more cape than kimono.
it's like a
Sounds
cape
like
with
a phrase.
sleeves. Isn't that such a thing?
Cape with sleeves.
I reckon there's a very
slanket.
specific term. That was it.
Worn the other way round.
Yeah, she was camping, and a giant. Those resin things you see in museums where they capture a butterfly and stick it there for all eternity? A giant one of those on a necklace, like a kind of mayoral symbol of authority.
Over bugs everywhere.
So I thought, you're clearly mad, but entertainingly mad. And so I just to kind of make conversation, was like, I'm a big fan of your shoes. She came over and we spoke for the next 40 minutes, in which the conversation got so emotional that I, for the first time in my life, I think, just hugged someone out of life. I just felt like I have to hug this woman. Dan just fucked off because it became too much to handle. In this 40 minutes, she related one of the most sort of tragic, uplifting stories. It was like reading a BuzzFeed article, but like injected straight into your veins,
God.
which is a theme in the story, in fact.
Oh,
because
good.
the long and short of it is, she opened by telling me that she designed this kimono thing herself and made it, as far
And
as
you
I
didn't ask her what it was?
Well, no, she called it a kimono, but I don't know.
I don't think it was.
I'm not quite sure.
I think she was wrong.
I bet she probably does know though, doesn't she? If she's
Yeah,
made
probably,
so many
yeah.
of them. And she told me that she'd made one for Tank, who is the lead singer
Yes.
of Tank and the Bangers, as you might guess, and gestured to a bag, and she'd like been talking to her on Instagram, was going to give it to her as a present. If we cut to afterwards, Tank posted pictures of her and this woman backstage. It was like, this is one of the greatest gifts I've ever been given, and it was amazing. It's like, it looks like an insect. It's all shimmery and scales.
wow.
It's beautiful. I'll show you a picture. But back we go to my experience, where she began to tell me about why she'd started designing these things. And the long and short of it is that her adult daughter turned 27, and her boyfriend and her killed themselves quite recently, as far as I know. And she discovered that this daughter, who was autistic, and I'm not quite sure why that was relevant. Maybe the idea was that...
Makes it sadder.
Well, yeah, I guess it does. But also I think she was alluding to like difficulty in communication while she was alive. She found that she'd been writing all these songs and had written like quite a lot of music. And the woman was like, and some of it was quite good, which I thought was a very nice, like honest but sad, realistic thing to say about it. Like, it was not rose tinted.
Yeah.
And so she's kind of devoted her life now to getting some of this music produced, and she's found musicians, she's found like producers, and she's telling me about all these like things that she's working on to try and channel a creative force that she thinks her daughter has like given to her it through her death, basically. That's fucking heavy.
That is
conversation
quite
to be
heavy.
getting into.
Anyway, John Peroni, we know
Yeah.
it.
Hey,
We know
Molly,
a tab you
let's
can
get the
pop it
tab
on.
going. Polly, it was so sorry. So she was telling me all of this stuff, and it was quite intense, the whole story. But in a kind of, I think it would have been less sad if she'd just been really sad about it. What was painful, and what the great acting lesson is that no one cares as much when you're crying. It's when you're trying not to cry that it's like, that it's when it gets you. That's what's most relatable. And she was someone who'd clearly like been through a horrific loss and had come to terms with it in her day-to-day life. And she got so far through this story with all of it being quite matter of fact. And then there was just a moment where she was telling me about an element, I think, of the design or something particular from one of these tracks. And she just did this little sigh that was just like, it was like the sigh at the end of Inside Out when Riley is reunited with her parents. There was just so much in it. It was really moving. It was nice to talk to her. So that was very strange to go from the giddiness of this £1 pints and of stealing drinks from Universal Records all night to meeting this person and hearing about all that. After the gig, they arrived eventually. She just like bowled through the crowd, which is great. She's about 5 foot, but like just confidently strolled through like, oh, hi, we're going to go and set up. They took about 10 minutes to sound check. They were on stage for about 25 seconds. They did maybe 5 songs. And to be fair, all of them were great. And all of them were quite long songs.
Yeah.
And they had to be... I spoke to one of the guys in the band afterwards who was just like walking through the bar. Just like walks past, was like, oh, it's you. And shook his hand, was like, you were great. Like, where are you playing next? He was like, we're up at 6
Back
to
in
fly
Nice.
to Dublin at 6 a.m. So they had 5 hours on the ground in London or something like that. Something mental. Dreadful. Dan and I went off to explore other places in the hotel and surrounding areas and found all manner of problems. We'd heard tell of this rooftop pool that was on the 6th floor, and we were determined to kind of break our way up there, having already explored the floor just above and like opened doors and found a big staff closet and a corridor leading to nowhere that was protected by like a very large code reader thing. So we were sure there were secrets there.
Definite crimes.
The rooftop pool secret was that it was shut, but
That
we
is a big
did
secret.
manage to find it, and that was quite difficult because we had to go up a fire escape and stuff. So that was more a challenge than you'd expect. another secret was that we saw these people emerging from one of the rooms, and it looked like a portrait of decadence lay within. We could hear, like, through the muffled, like, the party music playing, and these people came out very glamorously dressed, and you just caught a glimpse of, like, a Gatsby-esque, hedonistic brawl. So we were like, well, we've got to get in there, of course, and our play was to be looking for Sandra, and we thought, if we just knock on the door, say, oh, is Sandra in? And then go in. That would work. It was opened by a sort of stocky but no-nonsense Eastern European chap whose immediate opening gambit was, do we have a problem? So we thought, okay, well, let's dial back on that.
I'll tell you what the problem is, mate. We're looking for Sandra!
Headbutted him straight out.
Sandra Slav is in there.
It looked like some sort of very expensive wedding party just littered with drugs.
Yeah.
So we didn't end up getting in there either. And we weren't put off by this, and we went on to explore all areas of the hotel as much as we could. And eventually, I don't know why we decided to call it night. It was probably when hunger calls and the fillet of fish is up there on the golden
Screaming
hill.
to you the siren song of the fillet of fish.
They love a scream, don't they, the fish? Little known fact, they're the biggest screamers in the ocean.
Yeah,
the fish.
you hear it from everywhere.
It's what makes waves. Yeah, I was amazed when I learned that.
People are like, oh, that was a weird whale song. You're like, that's a fucking angry
1,000 tuna at once. But eventually we left, and I was quite drunk at this point, and we were near where Dange lives, so I don't think he had to get the tube at all. We were near Liverpool Street Station.
Right.
I thought I had to go to Moorgate, which it turns out was shut. And I navigated, I was so impressed, because my phone, as we know, dies within 1 second at the moment. Navigated all the way there in a very circuitous manner, only to find that it's one of the places where the night tube isn't. So that was a shame. But I became a kind of shepherd to a whole group of people who were seemingly just followed me, assuming I knew where I was going, because I had a very purposeful stride, who were all looking for McDonald's first and station second.
That is the order of priority.
They were singing 3 lines on a shirt, but here's the thing, only that lyric. 3 lines on a shirt, 3 lines on a shirt, 3 lines on a shirt. There were about 20 people just singing that for 10 minutes while I tried to navigate us back to Liverpool Street, where I eventually parted ways with all of the horrid idiots and tubed my way back home.
Fillet of fished yourself into the next
into a deep
life.
and everlasting regret. So the moral there is obviously Holly's tab. Get on board.
Get on board that.
Kimonos, they're cool. And it was a nice sort of heartwarming moment talking to that woman. And she follows me on Instagram now, so that's good.
Nice.
We've made a connection.
Yeah. We should go there and like just random days and ask to put things on Holly's tab on the off chance.
That it just
Universal
reopens.
Records is there. Yeah.
Who knows?
Imagine, we haven't got a Holly's tab. What tabs do you?
They'll never see it coming.
Any that
perfect
sound
cry.
like Holly? We've
Andrew?
got Billy. Billy's tab.
Oh,
That's what
God,
it was.
Holly
Billy's
hates it when I
tab.
call her Billy.
Yeah.
Or the other way round, whichever of those means a free booze. And of course, the most prominent lesson from the night is just say no, brackets, to the fillet of fish. And there we have it. That's 2 stories.
2.
Now that 2
The fillet of fish.
is just the word 2, I'm
Oh,
afraid.
wow,
Yeah,
God.
there's no call.
But I was making a joke because you got 2 of them. So actually mine fits better is what you're saying.
We've had an email. Watch as I find it. Right live on the mic. On studies in Fulcrum. I noted, says Toby, he didn't even bother to say hello. And that stings because, it's fine to be familiar, but we haven't seen him in a while.
Yeah.
And I'd want at least to kind
He keeps saying he's got all this big news, but he can't tell me what it is over the phone, like some sort of Cold War spy.
Oh no, what's happened to him?
I don't know. Apparently it's good news.
It's a trap, quite clearly. It's a good news trap. I noted that you did not mention anyone's theories as to the nature of Fulcrum, and so thought I'd throw my hat into the ring. And of course, the reason we didn't mention any is because it defies explanation.
Yeah, we don't know.
So,
Toby seems to hit on the head in this email the things that we had considered.
Yeah, number 1, you're unwittingly participating in a long-term Japanese prank show. And the connection for me to the lift plays into that because
Yeah.
we've all seen that great video of a little Japanese ghost girl appearing in the lift.
Oh, the one where if it happened to me, I'd kick her to death instantly.
Well, it startles me to this day that she's not dead
Yeah.
as a result of that prank. And also that anyone put her in that position where surely 40% conservatively of people, their reaction would be start
to
swinging,
simply attack.
start punching this
I
ghost.
like the doors would open, the lights would come on. She'd clearly be bleeding all over the place. They could not stop.
There'd be
me
like a
kicking
camera
her.
there and a guy going, "It's a prank, it was a prank," and you see me, "Ah!"
It's a fucking ghost, is what it is.
So that's number one. Number two, and this is where I'd put my money, Fulcrum is some sort of supernatural being draining you of your life force and preparing to wear your skin. That's not what I'm into, though.
You are into wearing. You just said you have a
I'm not
skin
into him
workshop.
wearing my skin. That
Oh, I
workshop's
see.
for me.
It's all one way with you.
Number three.
Take.
And I think he's being cynical here. And I think this is probably, you know how you end with like, yeah, they end the 10 o'clock news with, and then a chicken escaped, and it's a
Yeah.
bit lighthearted. I think that's what he's going for. Number three, you two, unsociable, and then he said an awful swear word beginning with arse that I'm not going to repeat, have met multiple of your neighbours and just assume it's the same guy, you idiots. What have you got to say to that idea?
Well, that's unfathomable.
Yeah, it's beyond a joke that you even suggested.
I mean, though these people do look different, it's wrong to say we've met any of them because I've never ever been introduced.
And the nail in the coffin of that theory is that if that were the case, meeting each one for the first time shouldn't allow them access to the hive mind Fulcrum memory bank.
No.
Where they know who we are, know details of our lives, and can react accordingly. So, Toby, enough with the cynicism.
that
If you
bullshit.
can learn anything from my Reddit boat, it's don't limbo and be less cynical. I think that's all for this episode.
Sounds good to me.
Yeah. It's been
very warm in
anecdote
here
based.
again.
It's 1,000,000 degrees in this room, and we've got all manner of ways to get in touch. How would you do it?
Well, personally, I'd probably, though I think he didn't exploit the medium to its full potential, I think Toby Milestones King knocked it on the head.
Yeah.
Email. Send us an email.
I know.
TAS, TAS
Yeah.
at shame.city. You can also basically send us a weird email, but without having to do any of the email bit, because I'd understand. I fucking hate email.
It's not worth interfacing with on a daily basis.
You can get in touch via the contact form on the website,
Yes.
shame.city/contact. If you've got some short form thoughts, which sounds like an insult, then you can get in touch on Twitter. That's the 280 character mob.
For now,
Yeah.
560 by the end of the year.
Can't wait.
What's the bet?
At That's a Shamecast for the show. At Isaac BD for Isaac, and at DE Delane for me.
Good.
You could leave us a review. If
Oh,
you
we haven't
fancy
had one of those
that.
in a while.
Shame.city/review or reviews.
Yeah.
Whichever
the
you
world is
fancy.
your oyster.
I think that, not that you need another job for the website, but I think you should make /review or reviews one
that's
as
a good
well.
idea. Yeah.
That's like a good
It's
little
a good
Easter
little-
egg.
Yeah, that we've told everyone about.
Yes, the best sort.
Yeah. Publicly
Because everyone
known.
gets an Easter egg.
Yeah, that is good.
And of course, if you have but $1, a penny, anything to throw
From
our
just
way,
25 cents an episode.
that's mad. I'd say we're worth that.
I think, 25 cents. What can you buy with it these days? A Freddo? Probably not, actually. That's sickening that a little chocolate frog, and not even the magic kind,
More than a quarter.
cost. Oh, that's repulsive. What you could buy, though, is a candy cigarettes. I'm a big fan of those.
because you do those.
Or a dib dab, but not from everywhere.
No, only good places.
Yeah, only
that
like
you
a
know about.
corner shop.
Yeah. And we've been putting out some content on the old Patreon.
Yeah, you'll get immediate access to Quickfire Shames from just 50 cents an episode.
That's great.
And that's something that money can't, but in this case can,
Buy.
Yeah.
Other than that,
That's all there is,
Wommy
isn't it?
bomb.
Oh, yeah.
Word of mouth is best of mouth. Tell a friend, tell a foe.
Yeah, why not? Why not bridge that gap between friend and foe
With
by extending
a
the
dog and a party
podcast
hat.
hand of us? Yeah, I think go for it, guys.
I think that's
Let
good.
us know how it goes, of course. Until episode 95, which brings us startlingly close to that great big milestone that is 100. I've been Isaac. You've been.
I've been Declan.
We'll see you on Wednesday for such a serious episode you won't know where to look.
Jingles aplenty.
Look for the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder of my big home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you. For the bare necessities, the simple bare necessities. Forget about your worries and your strife. I mean the bare necessities, oh Mother Nature's recipes that bring the bare necessities of life. Wherever I wander, wherever I roam, I couldn't be fonder, my new home. The bees are buzzing in the tree to make some honey just for me. The bare necessities of life will come to you. Necessities, the bare necessities, the bare necessities of life will come to you.